Now think about this logically. There's 144,000 Jews, 12,000 from each tribe, supernaturally sealed for divine protection on earth. Then everyone else is stung by demonic locusts for 5 months and wish they could die. Where are the Christians? We are not the 144,000 righteous Jews. We cannot be stung by demonic locusts because we are the servants of God. We are protected by God. We obviously are no longer on earth at that time. Logically, therefore, for this and a multitude of other reasons, we can have confidence that God's purpose is not that the church will live through the tribulation. When God takes his church home to glory, he tells us clearly, he is going to deal with Israel. He's going to deal with the nations, and we will be at the marriage supper of the Lamb.
Of all the topics I teach, the topic of the timing of the rapture arouses more questions and occasionally even animosity. Those who do not believe in the timing of the pre-tribulation rapture sometimes feel almost an anger and believe that you are really saying that the church is somehow going to escape the tribulation and the turmoil that so many Christians in the last 2,000 years have had to endure. But that is a misunderstanding. Jesus Christ does not promise the church an escape from tribulation. In fact, as anyone who studies history and current events knows, that the church is under tremendous tribulation today. People are being crucified in various countries around the world because they're Christians. And so it is quite possible, if God tarries, that the church will endure tribulation. But the question is this: will we endure the great tribulation in that 7-year period of the wrath of God? And here we're going to find that the answer is no. Among the questions that I have received regarding the time of the rapture, one of my favorites is, what is the real meaning of the expression, the falling away, that is found in 2 Thessalonians 2, verse 3? Let me just read that to you. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, and he's talking about the Antichrist, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he is God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Here this verse, at first glance, reading the King James Version and many others, seems to say that there's going to be a great apostasy, a falling away prior to the time of the Antichrist appearing. But that is not what it actually says. The Greek word that is translated in the King James, apostasia, translated as falling away, and has been translated so by some others, is not the only possible translation. In fact, it is not even the most natural translation. Theologians and Bible scholars have looked at this word apostasia, that is translated falling away in our King James Version, and have discovered that in every one of the English versions of the Bible, from about Wycliffe all the way up until 2 years before the King James Bible, without fail, 9 different versions translated that as departure away first. So let me just read it as the early translations read it. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a departure away first, and then the man of sin be revealed. What that would be saying is, there's going to be a departure away of a group of people. Well, that sounds a lot like the rapture to me. Remember this, the people at Thessalonica have been taught by Paul about the rapture. They've now been confused about the rapture, and now he's trying to straighten them out. Now, when he says departure away first, he uses the Greek article for the. He's referring to a departure that they know about. If I tell you, pick up the chair, the implication is there's a series of chairs of which one, you and I both know, is the chair I want you to pick up. I believe that it's very clear that Paul is here saying in one of the most clear pre-tribulation verses that the departure away first will occur of people being taken away from the earth by an external force, being the rapture, is what is being referred to. Another question that has appeared when I talk about the rapture is, what is the significance of John's vision of the 24 elders with crowns relative to the timing of the rapture? Well, the answer to this is that John is taken up in sequence in Revelation 4 to heaven after seeing the vision of the 7 letters to the churches. Now he's taken into the future, and he sees the 24 elders with crowns. Now, everything that happens in the tribulation from chapter 6 on is the great tribulation. It begins with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. The wrath of God is poured out upon unrepentant sinners from chapter 4 all the way to chapter 19. Significantly, we do not see the church mentioned as being on earth one time, not once, from chapter 4 to 19 that deals with the tribulation and the wrath of God. Rather, the fact that John in chapter 4, before this ever even begins, sees the elders with crowns, they represent the church in heaven. Nobody gets a crown until the rapture. Let me give you what Paul also clearly wrote in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day, and not to me only, but unto all them that hath love of his appearing. Paul tells us that God has set aside a day when he's going to give the crown of righteousness to all those who love his appearing. Now, if everyone's going to get it who loves his appearing, then that includes people who are alive right up until the day of the rapture. If John in Revelation 4, before the wrath of God and the tribulation is even described, sees the 24 elders wearing their crowns, then logically the rapture has already taken place in time. When you examine this, I think it's very clear that what God is saying is he's going to take his church home to glory. He's going to give us the crowns and rewards at the judgment seat of Christ that is promised in Romans. And then we're going to partake in the marriage supper of the Lamb described in Revelation 18. In order to eat and drink, we have to have a body. In order to wear the crown, you must have a body. You cannot wear it as a disembodied spirit or ghost. And so the rapture must already have taken place for us to be judged and receive crowns and to eat and drink at the marriage supper. The very next chapter, 19, John describes the church with Jesus Christ riding white horses from heaven, wearing robes of white, representing the righteousness of the saints, descending to earth to witness Christ's victory over the Antichrist in the Battle of Armageddon. The sequence is clear, my friend. Jesus Christ is going to rapture his church home to glory, and then we will return with him 7 or so years later to this earth.